Welcome to a brand new episode of You Don't Know Jack with Lydia and Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Good, Lydia. Season 6, episode 8.
Yes.
We're back. Another easy, like Sunday morning kind of day.
Yeah. Super comfy. It's snowing, which we both hate, but what are you going to do?
I don't think it's going to amount to much, though, at least today.
No, I don't. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
No.
Tim went out already. He went to the market.
I'm going here.
That's
right. And then I'm going home.
Nice.
Yeah. So, no, it's good football. Good football day.
Good football day. This whole weekend has been a really good football weekend.
It has been. It really started on Thursday, and, it's
Yep.
going right through to today.
Mhm.
But, before I think we talk about football, a couple things to talk about. Some sad news.
Yes. For both of us.
Yes.
Bob Weir, who is the founding guitarist and singer and songwriter for the Grateful Dead, he died at 78 after complications from lung issues following a successful fight with cancer. So he did have lung cancer. He was diagnosed about a year ago, I think.
Kept playing throughout.
And then developed some complications post. I mean, he's also 78 years old. I would also like to point out the fact that he wasn't exactly doing clean living for the majority of his youth. I imagine that came in later in life. He really was into fitness and exercise.
Very fit guy. Bob was always, he didn't look like Jerry. He was always trim and.
Let me tell you, he was the most attractive. For those of you who haven't watched the Grateful Dead documentary on Amazon, I highly recommend it if you are getting into the Grateful Dead or don't know much about the lore. But I woke up this morning thinking about one line that Bobby would say to the ladies that were like, "Oh, Bobby, we want to get with you, Bobby." And he goes, "Will you guys to figure out amongst yourself who that's going to be?" And I'll come in later.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so he was very much just like, you guys figure that out.
Right.
I'm not doing that.
Well, the other thing I always thought about, it sounded like a total male chauvinist pig. It had to be nice to be Bob Weir, to be a good looking guy in a band full of ugly guys.
Phil Lesh talked about that all the time.
Yeah.
He was like, man, Bobby cleaned up because nobody wanted to be with us.
Right. Yeah. But he was a good looking guy.
Mhm.
But, it's one of those things, and you saw a lot of tributes to him, obviously on social media.
Mhm.
And, it's that he's not gone. He's moved on to the next evolution, the next plane, the next ether.
Absolutely. And so with his passing, Bill Kreutzmann is the
Last founding member.
last surviving original member of the Grateful Dead. And he is not doing great.
Right. And he's not been playing with Dead and Company. There was a parting of the ways about, a year and a half ago.
Yeah. I think he was also not well, but also I think there was some financial stuff too. There's always financial stuff with the Grateful Dead.
Well, they never figured out how to monetize themselves until the end.
Of course. Yeah. I think that's absolutely the case. So Bob Weir got married later in life to a woman named Natasha, and they had two girls. And I think
one of them's a model, I think, or was like Chloe. I think one of them was a model.
And I think that, he lived like this really great rock and roll lifestyle, and then he was able to, later in life kind of settle down, have a family, which I think he really totally enjoyed and loved. And then, they were with him at the very end. And I think that was probably very comforting. But
I think it's a tough day for, last night was a tough night and a tough day for Grateful Dead fans everywhere. And it's just that it's, and I was, thinking about, your own personal journey and your own personal journey with the Grateful Dead. It was one of those things.
Did you ever know life without the Grateful Dead?
Yeah, I can remember, like I found the Grateful Dead very early on in high school, late middle school. Well, I had my stepsister went on the road with the Dead.
Nice.
But I was very little when that happened. Probably like 4th, 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really get it. And then as I got older, I understood it.
Okay.
But no, what I was thinking about with the journey with the Dead is that, your music taste could evolve and you could be like, oh, I'm listening to this, I'm listening to that. But you could always come back to them and they always welcomed you back. You know what I mean? They never thought they never felt jilted by, oh, okay, yeah, you went to experience other music. That's cool, but you came home, it's, they always welcome you home like the prodigal son.
I agree. And I think about, so I've never known life without the Grateful Dead because my dad my dad and my mother both Grateful Dead fans, and it was constant in the house. I think it was probably because it was safe music for children to listen to.
Absolutely.
And they also, my parents, unless it was Raffi, were like, we were not listening to children's music in the house. And so it was like, okay, we'll listen to Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Grateful Dead, and Raffi. And I was like, cool, that was great. So that was like how my introduction, all of it acoustic music and very mellow. But I have to say, that reminds me when you say welcoming back and being like a very welcoming crowd and just a whole ecosystem. There was a woman that went to see John Mayer because she liked John Mayer. She had no idea that it was John Mayer playing with the Grateful Dead. And she was like, I didn't know anything about the Grateful Dead. And I walked in there thinking it was a John Mayer concert, and it was not. But she says it was the best concert experience I've ever had, and now I'm like getting into this whole thing that I didn't even think about, or was even a kind of surface aware of. Everybody's seen a Steely,
Right.
but I think that I was like, well, that's pretty cool because that's kind of the ethos. Even when you went to go see like Phil Lesh and Friends or Rat Dog, I have famously written a letter to Bob Weir while attending All Good Music Festival. This was years ago. And Bobby wasn't exactly sober at the time and was forgetting lyrics and was very messy on stage and was introducing people to come play with him on stage by the wrong names. It was very not cool, right? And it was like, I was like, man, I was my first time seeing Rat Dog, and I was thinking like, you have really messed this up for me. I am not happy with you, Bobby Weir. And I wrote this very strongly worded. I didn't send it, obviously, but it was a good exercise at our campsite later in the day, being like, this is Lydia's diatribe into her sternly worded letter to Bob Weir.
I had a chance. I saw Bob Weir with Rat Dog, and I saw Dead and Company. And, I'm just very happy that, you experienced that. And the good thing is we get to continue to experience it. And, how lucky I think music fans are that, 60 years ago, a 17-year-old kid, literally got on the bus essentially, with
exactly. His parents were like, we trust you to take care of our son.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Trusted, Jerry and Phil, who were older than him. And Bobby was always like the kid brother, the youngest of the bunch.
Yeah.
And, with Pigpen and Bill Kreitzman, and, the rest is music history. And it is, the longest running band, as it still is, the journey goes on. The music has never stopped.
Yeah.
And that's them.
So most guitarists will always bring up the fact that Bobby had like this incredible rhythmic, just pouring out of him. And the way he played was not nobody could really put a finger on how he was playing or coming up with these rhythms, and it was just very natural and second nature to him. And he could just jump into a song at any point and just do these like really complex rhythms. And he never took a compliment. Like he was very good. He was like, oh, I'll probably mess it up the next time I play. He was very humble. And I think he kind of gets how cool the Grateful Dead is, but I think he's just like, this is just what I do, who I am and what I do.
I loved hearing him talk about, he had serious stage fright. And it literally, he and Jerry both were not necessarily comfortable as much as they were on stage. And like Bobby talked about, that's why they drink like 2 bottles of wine before they go on stage.
Well, that's probably why I don't know why he got nervous at All Good Music Festival in Masontown, West Virginia, but he was definitely not sober.
But he, no, but I just think he's so talented. But he was always okay with, Jerry got a lot of the credit, but he was always okay with that. Like you never saw any jealousy.
He also looked up to Jerry in a way that was like, oh, he's the guy that plucked me out of obscurity. And he always would talk about Jerry, and he's like, sometimes I still feel him and like all this kind of stuff. And I feel like that's,
it was someone talking about their big brother.
Yeah, 100%.
And he, and again, I think musical people tell you, Jerry Garcia is an immensely talented guitar player.
Yeah, of course.
Just a gifted.
But I think he was able to,
but he
was better because of Bobby.
Absolutely.
And I think both of them played off of each other very well.
And they sang together so well. I was watching, all the clips. One that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Bob Weir doing Cassidy. And they were doing, and he was doing it with Brett Midland, and Brett Midland's just like looking over at him. And Brett Midland was really talented.
He was very good, yeah.
Brett Midland gave them really for the first time with all due respect to Donna Jean, who just passed away too.
Yeah. A couple of months ago.
You know, after Pigpen died, they didn't have that third lyricist.
They did not.
And
no.
Brett Midland was really that third lyricist, and and Brett Midland's underratedly talented. And you know, a lot of people think the music was never any better than it was in the 80s, the way they played.
I don't know. I feel like it depends. Here's the thing. Depends on what mood you're in.
Yeah, and also it depends on what mood you're in, and it depends on what mood they were in. And they joke about it. Like they could be playing a 3-day set, okay, somewhere, and they could just be dreadful one day.
Oh,
and then
we've all heard it.
Right, and then the next day
they're great.
They're just, and that's the odd. That's the chance of the.
Well, you have to think about it. You can't be 100% perfect all the time when they're touring the way they were touring. Also, So very rare. It's not a rare talent, but I think it's something that's fun, is that I can usually name within the year or two of when this dead set is, you know, just by the tone.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing to do. Tim and I do that sometimes, but it's like, you know, I put the Dead on this morning because I felt it was appropriate. We'll probably spend some vinyl this evening. But it's one of those things where it's never going to go away. It's always going to be a part of your life. And you like you said, you boomerang back to it when you feel like
it's just always there.
It's always there. It's just like this constant current that you can kind of tap into when you need. And I think that we're very lucky that we were alive in the same time that Bob Weir was, and how lucky we are to have his legacy, and the Dead in general.
Yeah, I think the lyrics that are most quoted, probably since he died, is "Estimated Prophet."
Of course,
know, like an angel, you know, standing in a shaft of light, staring up to paradise. You know, I'm going to shine.
Yeah,
and it's you know, he will. You know, to paraphrase another band, he will shine on like a crazy diamond.
Yes, he will. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's for Grateful Dead fans out there, feel free to you know, tune into your favorite device, be it vinyl, be it still if you're doing CDs, or on you know, whatever player.
Grateful Dead, XM,
it's
stereo.
It's just a Grateful Dead kind of day, and I think Bob Weir, I hope wherever he is, would appreciate that. You know, and again, I don't think Bob Weir is the kind of guy that wants people sitting there crying for him any more than Jerry did. You know, like that's not who they are. That's not who any of them are. And yeah, so it's bon voyage, Bobby, and safe travels, and I'm sure he's jamming somewhere.
100%.
You know, he and Phil and Jerry, and you know, just doing their thing, and
getting the band back together.
Yeah, exactly, man. And you know, those guys are. I did see the other clip where he's talking about how fame's changed him. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
No.
He's talking about it, and he's like, yeah, you know, when I'm eating pistachios, and if it doesn't open like right away, I just throw it out. I mean, yeah. So, yeah. And Jerry just starts laughing. I mean,
he's like, yeah, man,
yeah, like how wealth and fame have changed.
I throw out pistachios.
He's like, I just throw it out, man.
I don't even waste that time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the okay. This is a life well lived. He was 78 years old. Now we're going to move on to something that should never have happened.
A life cut short.
A 37-year-old U.S. citizen, Renee Nicole Good, during an ICE operation that has triggered a national political, legal, and protest firestorm.
Yeah, it's you know, one of the questions that I have is, what in the hell's going on in Minnesota in general? I mean, it's Renee Good. It was George Floyd. It was, you just had a school shooting. You had the legislators killed. And I mean, like, they're supposed to be Midwestern nice.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you bring that up, because I was thinking, you know, what is going on in Minneapolis specifically?
Yeah, because that is not where you would think the epicenter of the...
you would think Chicago, you would think
L.A., New York, D.C. I mean, you would think...
New Orleans, maybe. You're thinking like, okay, that corridor, like, I'm just trying to keep in the Midwest, you know, in the middle of the country. Louisiana's a little to the side, but or like someplace in Texas.
Even like Houston, you know, somewhere
you would think that would be the epicenter for this crazy political firestorm.
Where the social, where you really can really see, but it is funny you said the center. Yeah, it's like where you see the social fabric being pulled. I mean, really. Well,
right, and that's the thing that, you know, it's interesting. It's coming from Minneapolis. I would not have thought that Minneapolis would be the ones that would be like, okay, and you got, okay, for one thing, this city has been traumatized over and over
know.
and over again. And if you live there, it has got to be exhausting.
Like,
I'm exhausted.
If I
don't
lived in
live there.
Minneapolis, and
I'd
by
be
the way, by
moving.
all accounts, it's supposed to be, other than the weather, which you and I would hate,
Yeah.
but
Supposed to be lovely.
But like they're very happy people.
Yeah.
Minnesotans, like they all have a winter activity because apparently if you don't, you go insane.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
you
that
have
makes
to-
sense.
You
Like
have to be-
curling
you
or
have to,
something.
or ice fishing or
Yes,
something.
yes.
Cross country skiing. They all have something they have to do because
Yeah.
if not, you will apparently like lose your mind.
Yes.
But they're they have like
They
very much
get
like-
out. They meet. They get
very much like the Norwegian countries. The Northern European, they have a high happiness rate. Like they really do something. But man, if I lived in Minnesota, I think I'd be
something
moving.
on that parallel.
Yeah, but there's something happening there.
Yeah. So the shooting occurred. Here's the basic timeline and facts. The shooting occurred Wednesday morning in South Minneapolis, Minnesota. Good was driving a maroon Honda Pilot that ended up stopped sideways in the street near an ICE operation.
No, I couldn't tell. Had she been pulled over, or or was her car like positioned to
I think
block
she was
ice?
trying to turn around.
Okay.
I think she saw what was happening. That was an ICE thing, and
Started
she
to do
was
like a
trying to do
180.
a U-turn to kind of leave
Right.
the area. So she was 37, and the shooter was an ICE enforcement and removal operations special response team officer, Jonathan Ross. He was a veteran ICE agent based in Minnesota, which I don't know what that means. Has he been there for 2 years maybe? The ICE agent fired at least 2 to 3 shots at close range into the vehicle. Good was struck in the head, and she was transported to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. So that's what happened. Those are the facts. Shot at close range by an ICE agent. She died.
Right.
There's conflicting accounts of what happened. There's been since videos been released of what happened. I have not watched it. I do not need to watch that. I feel like if you, again, going back to other previous shootings, live assassinations on television or wherever socials, please, I'm begging you, turn off your automatic video play because if you don't want to see it, you shouldn't have to.
Right.
It's awful enough as it is. But from the accounts I've heard of the video, she was not active in trying to hit him, run him over, nothing.
She did not seem to be particularly provocative. I did watch some of the videos. Now, I am mercifully glad you do not see, heaven forbid, someone actually you hear the gunshots, but you don't actually see them.
Yeah.
Not that that's kind of cold comfort, but you know what I mean? Like, thankfully, I didn't see somebody, get hit in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't. My biggest issue is this. I don't know what happened. You see different clips, different videos.
Yeah.
And what exactly happened. I think what I was most concerned about is the administration so quick to call this an act of domestic terrorism by Mrs. Good.
Because they don't want to
Right,
appear like they're going to be blamed for this because they've hired people that are unqualified to do the job. And I think
when I think of unqualified, it starts with Christine No.
Well, of course.
I mean, somebody said, I was talking to a friend today, a fellow lawyer. We had a call this morning, and he said she looks like she just came out of like a country western strip club.
Yeah, I mean
when
she's not great.
The cowboy hat on and stuff. It's like, come on, man. Like,
it's not good. So the Minneapolis police chief, Brian O'Hara, said that there's nothing indicating Good was the target of any investigation or law enforcement activity. Minnesota officials and city leaders dispute the domestic terrorist label and the idea that she was trying to kill officers. Video and eyewitness accounts describe the SUV briefly reversing and then moving forward as turning as if they were trying to leave, not ramming officers. One witness says the vehicle was not moving towards the agent when shots were fired. So she was in the process of leaving the area. She had just dropped off her daughter.
The more provocative one in the car who was out of the car, kind of barking with the agents, was a woman who identified herself as Ms. Good's wife. You know what I mean? She was kind of, chirping at him.
But still,
I mean, I'm not. No. It doesn't work. I'm saying, But the driver seemed to be very, and they have a clip of her talking, and she's not screaming at them or anything like that. And then also, not nearly as horrifying as somebody dying, obviously, but also there's a dog in the car too. I mean,
I didn't
Yeah.
realize. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, you hope the freaking dog is okay too. I mean,
Yeah.
of everything else, it's like,
Well, this
but
isn't the first. This is ICE agent clearly has PTSD because this is not his first vehicle incident. Court records show that Ross was dragged roughly 100 yards by a car during an immigration arrest attempt in Minneapolis around June of last year. He fired a taser twice during the incident and needed 20 to 33 stitches for lacerations. So he fired a taser, a non-lethal form. And earlier driver was later federally convicted for assaulting a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. DHS officials are now citing this history to explain why Ross may have perceived Good's vehicle as a threat.
then why are you letting the guy work?
That's my point. My point is you can say, well, he had a bad experience. Well, then get him therapy and don't put him out on the front lines. Put him on a desk. This person obviously is a loose cannon. It is the mayor of Minneapolis has basically told ICE to get the F out of their city.
That's exactly what he said, and he didn't say get the F out. He said the
full word.
F***K.
Yes. Out of my city. I will say that Philadelphia and other cities, major metropolitan cities in the United States, have all come out in support of the mayor and said that they will prosecute. If you come in and break the law, we will prosecute you. And it'll be a state prosecution, and you cannot be pardoned from that.
Right.
And you will serve your time.
Right.
So
what the federal government, what a federal agent would be left to argue is what we call qualified immunity, because you do have a level of immunity, but it's qualified. It does not mean it is not an absolute immunity.
Right. So I think that they're saying like anything that you have been promised by Kristi Noem or the federal agents that you work for is not necessarily true.
And remember, murder is a state crime.
Murder is a state crime. So you need to, keep that into perspective. So when you decide to do something terrible, know that you will be held accountable. We are not afraid to prosecute you, I believe.
I would tell you on the video scale, because you don't see mercifully an impacted with a gunshot. This is nothing as bad as the worst video I've ever seen in my life is watching George Floyd.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that once, and I never need to see that again. Because you see someone begging for their life.
Yes.
And
calling out for their mother, which is like, come on.
Yeah.
But I will say, because of this unnecessary death and unnecessary shooting too, protests and public reaction have been swift and are basically global at this point. There are large protests and visuals that are taking place in Minneapolis. Also Portland. There was shooting
I think this is the 9th, though, shooting since October involving ICE.
Correct. And so it's not getting better. It's ramping up. And I feel that we as the United States citizens could take a page out of the Italian playbook currently. They are walking out of public jobs. They're walking to make the country function. They're doing massive walkouts and saying like, hey, we don't like what you're doing. We don't like your policies. So we're going to shut things down. Schools were out for the remainder of the week after this happened in Minneapolis. I got to tell you, people are barricading themselves into their neighborhoods. Like they're putting barricades up in their neighborhoods to keep ICE out. It's not a good look for us as a country.
You said before we came on, is this kind of the Kent State moment? Those of you who don't remember, was 1970, I think, the school shooting at Kent State that left 4 students dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, sometimes I'm trying to figure out where the bottom is.
So you feel like, because that was a turning point, right?
Right.
Kent State was a turning point. I don't know if this is a turning point or just another chapter in a very long and depressing book that we're living through. And by the way, it's only the 11th day of January. I feel like we have lived an entire year.
Yeah. We have lived an entire year.
I know. But I'm just saying.
We have 3 left.
I know.
Oh, you mean in 26?
26. I'm saying in the last.
I thought you were talking about in this administration.
No, yes, I'm talking about like it's just one thing after the other. And I just think that all of it is a distraction from what could be. We could be better. Like we need to be better.
And Lydia, everyone who's listened to us on this show knows that I am bullish. I'm always bullish on America. I am the proverbial, the constant optimist.
Yeah, you are, and that's really good. That's healthy for me.
I know, and
because I'm.
But
not.
I just think, like, when are we going to say, like, I just believe in our better angels. I continue to believe that.
I know.
I just continue to believe And you know why I say that though is like you'll hear this back and forth, but like if your car broke down,
Yeah.
you know there might be a guy with a freaking Trump hat that would probably absolutely pull over and help you change your tire.
Yep. I'm not
Like
gonna
that's who we are. Like
listen.
I don't know why we can't treat everybody like we like that. Like
Well,
I
if
mean,
we're breaking it down on a human level, everybody's cool.
yeah,
Right? But if you put politics into it, or even religion at this point, you gotta be like, hey man, like, because at the end of the day, you would think that, I mean, I would hope everybody would be decent, but you got to get back down to the bottom, the baseline level, right? And a lot of it comes to communication and knowing what's true and what isn't. And I think in this country, there's a lot of gray area on what is true and what isn't. This is the facts. No, I don't like those facts, so I'm going to pick a different set of facts. No, we've got to get back to this is the truth and this is not the truth.
right.
If you want to believe in non-truths, that's fine. But you need to also acknowledge that these are the facts.
I just want us to start, I always say, I can disagree without being disagreeable. And
We're good.
And yeah, I just sit there and think like, what are we doing? And it's, again, I understand how we have true debate and disagreement on issues. I mean, I think the clearest one is, look, I can debate and understand the other side on reproductive health.
Sure.
And women's rights. I get from a deeply held religious belief, people have certain beliefs, and I get that. And it's not that I don't respect it. I think it's.
I think it's
I
sort
think
of like if you don't want an abortion, then don't have one.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm.
But on immigration, I understand. Like, hey, a belief that we need border security. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, immigration has been like a terrible. No one can seem to crack this in a good way.
Yeah, a belief that we need to. If you are not here legally and you are a bad actor and committed violent crimes, we all, and that's what they said they were going to target, and then
they're not.
They're not. But when we start to say that Americans that protest, that you're terrorists or domestic terrorists, or this and that, we are founded on that kind of that belief, that right to protest our government, the right to fight back, and not into peaceably obstruct, and to say like to blow whistles and say here they come. And
I think what we've got to get back to is the fact that they've now labeled we were liberal people in general were labeled snowflakes and they couldn't handle themselves, and now they've rebranded that we're domestic terrorists because we have an opinion and we want to express it. But when you do it, it's okay.
But we're not storming the Capitol.
We're not. We are respectful usually. Yeah. I will say that there's some violent things that happened with snowballs and ice balls or whatever.
Right. And I don't
condone that.
No,
and the leadership has come out and said, listen, this is exactly what they want you to do. Please don't play into this.
Right.
So what I will say is, it's just to the point where you have to say, okay, how can Tim and I have talked about this. If you are a white person, you have white privilege, whether you acknowledge it or not, you have white privilege. So here's the thing you can do if you are in a community that's being bombarded by ICE. You allow your friends and neighbors to stay at home. And you use your white privilege to give them food and give them shelter if need be, and you protect them because you are the barrier.
Yes.
That's a strategy, okay? If you feel completely helpless, but you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, "Oh, they'd leave me alone."
Right.
Then it's then step it up.
Right. Or if you don't, we live in an area where we don't have tons of minority folks, where we're certainly, not a target area. But we know that they are in our urban areas, and in certain areas there are any number of not-for-profits that need financial assistance if you have money. And again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to give them $10,000. If you got $10, $20, just
everything. Little bit helps. And I think that the biggest thing that will fight this is being part of a community.
Yeah.
So if you're actively a part of a community, and I think that that's why Minneapolis is so powerful, is because they are very community based. Yeah. And I think that, they're trying to destroy that sense of community, and they're not going to let that go.
And understand that, Renee Good and her wife, partner, whatever.
Very philanthropic.
But they were but they were very white in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah.
They weren't the target.
Nope.
They were, but to the extent if they were turning around or even barking at the ICE agents, they weren't the ones that were getting locked up. And they were, so the fact that you're voicing your opinions about folks that, they weren't the targets.
Yeah.
And,
And,
no, I just think,
I think that the person needs to be prosecuted by the state for murder. And I also believe that Congress is now going, okay, maybe we should start to pull back funding. Maybe we should start to do these things.
Well,
That would be nice.
And you know what I would say with respect to the officer who did the shooting? And I get that it is a split-second decision. They don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I would say, I fault the people that put him in that situation.
Yeah, I know. But
they play a role in. No, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not condoning.
No, I know. But
If the investigation says it was unjustified, then there's punishment for that. But I'm still saying, you put a guy that had been drugged by a car and injured, and what do you like? What help did you get him? What did you do for him? No, you just put him back. You taped him up and you put him back out there.
That's the thing. I mean, how do they treat veterans in this country is exactly how they're going to treat an ICE agent that had a traumatic event. They're just going to be like, well, buckle up, Buttercup, get back out there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And, we can talk about how broken that system is, but at the end of the day, he decided the first time he got drugged 100 feet, he used a taser. The second time a car did a U-turn, he used a gun. Right. There was a huge jump from point A to point B.
Again, I'm not condoning any of it. I'm just saying I think he might be a bad actor, but he's not the real bad actor.
No, I understand.
He didn't, this is probably a guy trying to do his job to pay the bills to support his family. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you are. Big one.
I know. But I'm not without, I'm assuming, I'm making some assumptions that he is not a sociopath. And when you look back after this event, I mean, I couldn't imagine carrying the weight of killing someone.
I don't know, unless he's has no moral compass.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If he's a sociopath, I guess, then he wouldn't.
Right.
But I just think, I mean, that who put him in that spot? That's the guys we need. Those are the folks that we need to look at.
I also would like to point out that the state of Maryland is introducing legislation that says if you are a current ICE agent, that you will be ineligible to serve on any law enforcement in the state of Maryland, which I think is very good. I'm just putting that out there. I think that if you decided to sign up and you were out there actively causing chaos when chaos doesn't need to exist, that you should not be a part of any law enforcement. And I think that that's I think that's a good boundary to set.
Yeah.
And I hope other states follow suit, because it's a study in how a certain type of person would take advantage of this administration's hate to financially benefit. And I don't know how these people sleep at night. I just don't.
I understand.
Okay, let's move on to
a lighter subject.
Sports.
Let's try to go to sports.
Let's try to go to sports. Okay, great. As we talked at the top of the show, great weekend, midweek to weekend for sports. So let's start with Miami and Ole Miss. That was an amazing game.
I did fall asleep on that one.
You did fall asleep on that one, which went all the way to the end. Ole Miss had the ball at the very end through a Hail Mary of a pass. Yep. The guy almost caught it. A little bit of pass interference.
Yeah,
but they didn't call it.
That's a tough call to make.
It is. And I understand. But it was a really good, it was like score for score, drive. It was really an intense game. The score changed constantly throughout the whole thing.
I really respected Ole Miss.
They did.
With the noise, with their, the coaching change and stuff. I thought they battled the whole, Trinidad Chambliss was just unbelievable.
I mean, it's the first.
I think losing the running back really hurt him when he got injured.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, I thought it was a great semifinal game. Like I said, I did fall asleep and nodded off there in the fourth quarter.
That's okay. But it was good. Listen, it's everything you want in a game, but you have no dog in the fight. A score for score game, and it's great.
And listen, all I'm going to say is this. Nobody in America, and this is a joke, so no one sue me for this. Nobody in America can do cocaine right now because Michael Irvin has done it all. He's done all the cocaine.
Oh my God. He is so pumped on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean he's done all the cocaine.
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen the montage of Michael Irvin. He was like so excited, and you know what I have to say, as a player, seeing Michael Irvin on the sidelines has to be just like, crazy amazing.
And listen, I always
so full on.
I thought he made those Cowboy teams because of that.
Yeah, because of his energy.
That energy.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, some of the memes out there, like,
I know.
It's okay, from Arizona, I'm running back to Miami. I mean, there's some good ones out there. But no, Michael Irvin, the playmaker.
And
but
he'll go back to Miami.
Did you see that? I mean, it was like a star-studded Miami sideline.
Yes, it was.
I mean,
absolutely.
the GOAT, Ray Lewis on the sideline.
Yep. They were all out.
Yeah, Gino Torretta, Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
The Miami, the U is out in force on the sideline.
They absolutely were. So,
and listen, I think it's great for college football for Miami to be good.
Yes,
it is a good thing.
Let's move to Oregon, Indiana. It's the Peach Bowl. All right, I gotta say it. You watched this whole game, which surprised me.
Yes.
But
I think I turned it off when it was long past over.
I watched the whole thing because I just was like, I want to make sure this is like a real legit win. So Indiana, the final score is 56-22. At halftime, it was 35-7, and early in the second half, it was 42-7. I gotta say, Indiana shut it down. They shut it down so quickly, and then you thought after halftime, Oregon had kind of figured out the defense a little bit and was able to make some changes to get down the field and score. And then Indiana made changes to their defense very quickly and caused chaos and shut it down.
Indiana is extraordinarily well coached.
They are very well coached. I just want to point out the fact that Indiana's coach, Cignetti, is not like doesn't have his head down, and he's not like distracted by anything else. His eyes are on that field. His eyes are moving constantly, and he's very calmly making maybe play changes or calls, right? But he is fully engaged on what's going on in the field the entire game. And you don't see that from a lot of other head coaches. They got their heads down, they're talking to other people, that they're kind of looking around, running up in the field, but he is like
I'll tell you
dialed in.
I'll tell you what I noticed. College football is all about Nick Saban. Cristobal is an assistant coach for him. Cignetti was an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Pete Goldie was an assistant coach. I mean, you can feel the Nick Saban, Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
Also, all four of the coaches
Dialed in.
part of the Saban tree,
Yeah.
and they have that sort of that mindset.
But I gotta say, it was like really. I mean, there was some fumbles. It was an exciting game, but at the end of the day, Indiana totally blew it out of the water.
I thought Indiana took over in the first play, the pick six. By the way,
they did.
Highlight that I saw, things that you see on social media. After the game, the Oregon equipment manager found the kid from Indiana and gave him the ball.
That's
the
so
pick
sweet.
six. I mean,
That's
that's a
great.
huge play. And
That's a huge play.
He tracked him down, and you could see the Indiana kid really meant a lot. Gave him that ball, the one that
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool. And I think
like that's what makes college football great.
Absolutely. So what's your prediction for the 19th of January in Miami versus Indiana? Who do you think's taking?
I do like for Miami that they're at home, essentially.
Yeah.
It will be a star-studded cast on the sidelines. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but they're not playing.
No, they're not. I think Miami's defense is very good. I think Miami might do a better job of slowing Indiana down than most teams have.
Okay.
I don't think Miami can score enough points to beat them. Because when I say slow Indiana down, I think maybe can you keep them to 24 points?
Right.
That's slowing them down.
Yeah.
If they do, I don't think Miami can score 27 or 28 points to do it. So I think Indiana, I'm going to say Indiana like 34-17.
Okay.
Somewhere around that range.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if they can keep Miami, if Miami can keep them, listen, it'll all determine in the first quarter if they're going to be able to keep them down. Because Indiana goes out fast and hard in the first quarter, and that's when they make the most that's when they they beat the brakes off you in the first quarter, basically. So if that's the case, I believe Indiana's going to just roll them, and I think that'll be that. And
you think belt to rear end?
Yeah, 100%. I really do, because
Michael Irvin will be the one getting the belt.
I don't know.
Instead of pulling his belt off and giving a.
No, I feel like Miami might be a little lulled into, we're at home and we've got all this home court advantage kind of a deal.
I think Indiana will pack the stadium. I think they will travel.
I think they will too. What I'm saying is I think there is a low level of confidence that Miami has that maybe is not going to be good for them. Like, I think they're kind of lulled into this, like, well, we're at home, so it will be fine. And
or the U.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I think I hope for a good game. So you
Me
think
too.
Indiana going away?
Easy.
Okay.
Easy. And then they'll be undefeated all
Yep.
year, which I think would be
In
great.
the first 16-0 team.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so NFL wildcard games last night were fun.
They were good. I thought the Panthers balled out.
My God.
I think if you're a Panthers fan,
You should be proud of
the
that.
arrow's pointing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got some improvements to make and some holes to fill.
But
I think Bryce Young is a gamer, man.
Yeah.
And
I gotta say I was not expecting the Panthers to give the Rams such a run because
remember they beat them, 5 or 6 weeks ago.
They did.
But I thought that was maybe flukish.
I did too. But it's no, actually, they're really good.
And by the way, the Rams should have been up big.
They should have,
and they made some mistakes, like Carolina hang around, and Carolina battled them to the end. So, no, shout out to Carolina. Really made and again, I know there's no more, and especially in pro football, there's no moral victories.
No.
But I'm just saying the arrow is pointing in the right direction for Carolina.
I think that they know where their deficiencies are, and they can really come back stronger next year.
Yeah.
The Bears-Packers game, holy guacamole. What a game.
Listen. He's like the new Captain Comeback, Caleb Williams, man. The fourth quarter, look out. You know what I like about the Bears? They never give up.
No.
And I'll tell you what's underrated, man. Their defense, the adjustments that they made in the second half, especially in the third quarter, to let the team get back in it. It was amazing. And then Green Bay did get a score, but then. The Bears, it's just, I'm telling you, they got like fourth quarter magic, man.
There's something about it. It's pretty crazy. And I was just like, I could not believe the fact that they pulled it off. They were down pretty much the entire game and then came back in the fourth and won it.
I said to you before we came on, though, I think Matt LaFleur could be in trouble.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with and don't get me wrong, if Matt LaFleur is let go, he's going to be a head coach somewhere else.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, Green Bay continues to disappoint in the playoffs. Even when he had Aaron Rodgers, he lost some home NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's had a record of kind of getting it, but just never pushing it over the line. Like that's a problem, and that's usually what you're supposed. That's your job.
It's sort of what just led to the demise of John Harbaugh.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the Bears are just never say die. I tell you what I'm really looking forward to is I think going to be the best game is the 1:00 game today.
Bills-Jags.
The Bills-Jags. I think it's going to be a great game. Obviously, have a rooting interest because we want to see Ty do well.
He scored 2 touchdowns last week.
Like, listen,
Go Ty.
I think they have to get past
the Ty Johnson's Buffalo Bills. Excuse me, we forgot to say that.
I think the Jags might be their toughest match. Like, I think
so
the AFC's wide open. No disrespect to Denver or New England.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, I think the Jags are red hot. I think it's the best game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the matchup is good. So 49ers and the Eagles also today.
Also going to be a good game.
It's going to be a good game.
I think that's a really bad draw for the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's just a tough draw to get. Like,
but they're at home.
Yeah,
so I guess
I know, but I'm just saying, like, San Francisco's been a really good team.
Yeah, they are. They can
now,
be.
Seattle exposed them, and can the Eagles match that defensive intensity? They have the talent. I don't know if they're as good as Seattle, but they're very good on defense.
Yeah, they are.
I think you're going to want to play a similar game plan. And listen, win, lose, or draw, if I'm the Eagles, Saquon's going to carry the ball a lot. He needs to.
Just give the ball to Saquon.
Give the ball to Saquon.
Give the ball to Saquon.
And also, is Lane Johnson back? I think he might be. I think that, that you're talking about a potential
be.
Hall of Famer.
I think he might be. I have to check with Tim, my resident Eagles expert.
Yeah, but I think that'll be a good game as well.
Chargers Pats at 8 tonight.
I think the Pats will take care of business.
I think so too. It should be a good night in Foxborough. And Texans and Steelers. That's Monday at 8:15.
I think I'm not sold on the Texans' offense, but I think their defense is really, really good.
Yeah, so that's going to be a problem for.
I think the defense is really,
old
has been stunted offensively pretty much most of the year. I just think they're gonna they do get DK Metcalf back.
But still, I don't know. I think they're a banged up old team.
Yeah.
Coming into into the playoff season, which is usually you don't go very far if that's the case. So Steelers versus Ravens, we've got to talk about this game. I mean, we don't have to, but we probably should. So
Lamar was MVP Lamar.
Yeah, he was.
Man.
He was.
He showed you why he's as someone said, he's a perennial MVP candidate every year.
Every year.
This year he got hurt, but this is what he looks like by the way,
when he's
he's probably healthier than he's been from the most part of the year.
Season, I agree.
And that's what playoff Lamar, or excuse me, MVP Lamar looks like.
Yeah, so I missed a field goal, which wasn't great.
Yeah, Tyler Loop, that kick had no chance. But now, the only reason the Ravens had a chance to win it, not tie it, was Chris Boswell missed his first extra point in 5 years.
Yep.
So
I mean, it was kind of tit for tat there. But at the end of that game, which you have been calling for the last, I don't know, I think a year.
Yeah.
Firing of John Harbaugh. So basically, Ravens finished 8-9, missed the playoffs for the first time since 2021. They fired John on Tuesday, 2 days after the loss to Pittsburgh. He coached 18 seasons in Baltimore, won Super Bowl title, multiple deep playoff runs, and 2025 just was terrible. 1-5 start, tied for the worst in franchise history, including a Week 1 fourth quarter meltdown in Buffalo that set that tone.
Yeah, when they were healthy.
Yeah. Team rallies back to 6-5, stays in the hunt, fades, and ultimately needs that Week 18 win. That was like the thing. This is a winner-take-all scenario, and no team wants to be in that position going into the playoffs. No. Frustration, repeated blown leads, late game collapses. We've talked about this week after week. You come in here frustrated saying, like, just run the ball. Yeah. Do what we know works. Why are we trying to do something else? Like, you are messing up. Just do what we know works. Why are we tweaking it? Or why aren't you doing it at all?
But I think, and I think there was just, look, John Harbaugh is going to be a head coach in the NFL. I think
he's interviewing at the Giants.
I think that's where he's going to end up.
Good for him.
I think that's the best job available other than the Ravens. I mean, because everyone said, like, I think John Harbaugh became everybody's number one candidate. Mm-hmm. And the Ravens became the best job available.
I agree.
Because someone said those jobs don't come open very often.
No, they
right?
don't.
The Ravens, where you have that steady, constant franchise. It's like when the Patriots came open, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it came open, a year after again.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, those jobs don't come open very often.
But they're like legacy teams. Right. They have a really good front of house.
Yeah, if the Packers can LaFleur. Now, we know what the Packers do. Packers like to hire offensive coordinators, the up and coming. It was Holmgren, it was McCarthy, LaFleur. That's their MO.
Also, we have to talk about McDaniel. McDaniel got fired from the Dolphins after 4 years. He'll probably go back into the ether of being an offensive coordinator someplace else.
If you ask me, my dream scenario for the Ravens,
not McDaniel.
No. Well, it is. I'll tell you where he comes involved. I think, by all accounts, he's like 34 or 35 at San Diego's defensive coordinator who coached with the Ravens, Jesse Minter. They call him they say he's like a football savant. He's like but he's a defensive guy. I'd like to see a Jesse Minter paired with either Cliff Kingsbury, who parted ways with the Commanders as the offensive coordinator, or Mike McDaniel. I think Mike McDaniel and Cliff Kingsbury are both very creative play callers. I think they would know how to utilize Lamar.
Okay.
Both have been head coaches in the NFL, so they'd be able to give, Minter, it's his job, but you know what I mean? They'd be able to say, like, they had that experience. Sure. I think that would be a great pairing for the Ravens. I think the other name that you're hearing a lot for the Ravens is Brian Flores, Coach Flo, who was, 26 and 25 or 25 and 26 with Miami.
Yeah. I think that would be great.
But parted company has been in a lawsuit with the NFL about.
I would love that, actually. I think that Baltimore could be a good.
Now,
city
one of the
him.
things though that did trouble me is Tua said that Brian Flores was a terrible person, and that was echoed by Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's played in the league for a long time with a lot of coaches.
So maybe not a good emotional fit.
Apparently but by all accounts, apparently they said that's something he's become better with.
Oh, okay.
About how he relates to players. Yeah, but I think if you ask, I think I would hire Minter or Flores, but I got to pair him with an offensive guy because, look, you are in the prime of Lamar's career.
Wouldn't it be great if it was Flores and McDaniel? I think
it'd be great.
Why not?
Last two former Miami coaches.
Yeah.
You know who else I like? And by the way, 2 playoff appearances in 6 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. The guy should go to the Hall of Fame. Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
He's available. He did interview in Baltimore.
Okay.
I think Stefanski's a really good coach.
All right.
I'm not sure why Cleveland parted ways with him. Cleveland has the worst job available of the jobs because
they're going to have a hard time filling
They're just dysfunctional.
Maybe Dion will do it.
Yeah. I think John Harbaugh will be the Giants head coach. I think it is a cornerstone franchise as it goes. They have a quarterback. They have some good defensive pieces. They have a really high draft pick.
I think it's a good place for him to, go and retire.
Yeah, I think. But I think you see John Harbaugh to the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ravens. Like I said, I think if I'm a betting man, it's Flores or Minter.
Okay.
But again, for me, that's good hire or Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
But Stefanski, you don't need to pair with an offensive mind, but you got to get a defensive. But yeah, I would like to see. But I think. And by the way, John Harbaugh is a good coach.
No,
John
we're not
Harbaugh,
debating that. I think he just.
But it needed. It was time for a different voice. I think he got stale.
I was about to say.
No, I think. Look, John Harbaugh's name's going to go in the Ravens Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
he's a great coach.
He'll always be. Listen, he'll always be walking back to Baltimore for things.
Baltimore will always be his home away from home.
I get it, but it's
18 years.
Time to go.
Yeah, it was just time.
New blood. So I got some Red Sox news last night that I'm not very thrilled about.
And I was looking. It's funny. I was looking on the hot stove at lunchtime. My daughter and I were in Pittsburgh yesterday, and we were eating lunch, and so we're waiting for stuff, and we're both kind of browsing on our phone. And I was like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on with the hot stove." And they were talking about Alex Bregman, and they thought some signings that happened. They thought it made it more likely. They actually thought that Toronto signing the guy from Japan made it more likely
he would stay.
That Bregman would come back to the Red Sox. So that's what happened, right, Lydia?
No, Alex Bregman agreed to a 5-year, $175 million deal with the Cubs.
Ouch.
Ending his Boston. Yeah, no kidding. I am so not happy with this. He's ripping out a really good leader in Boston. People really liked him in the dugout. He was like a go-to guy. He was really great. Third baseman. Great hitter. WTF, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is like Mookie all over again. And it's just guys.
Boy.
That came out last night, and that put me in a foul mood.
Yeah, that's
foul mood.
Yeah,
but what put me in a good mood is that Tim and I have spring training tickets to see the O's and the Sox.
That's awesome.
March 1st.
You won't be seeing Alex Bregman, though.
I won't be seeing Alex Bregman.
You could be seeing the polar bear, though. You could see Pete Alonso.
This is true, and I'm very excited about that. So
you might be seeing. I still don't count the Orioles out on Framer Valdez. I think the Orioles are still
they're very much building, and I think it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm excited.
So listen, the big name out in the hot stove, is Kyle Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Kyle Tucker by a mile, and then you probably have Bo Bichette and Bellinger.
I think Bo Bichette their Sox but they got to spend money to get Bo Bichette. So I'm like, are you going to do it or not? Because you couldn't spend $175 on Bregman.
Yeah, I think
million.
Yeah, I think I got 175.
I got Here, I'll do it for you. I'll
I think I said to you before we went on. I said, listen, by their standards, Dodgers have been very quiet in this hot stove.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if they just don't come in and say, yeah, we'll take Kyle Tucker too. Why not?
I know. God, I hope not. Well, I mean, we've covered a wide range of topics this morning, and I feel like we deserve an award for that.
Yeah, and we have no choice but to again, well, first we don't apologize. We've always said we're Maryland-centric and sports-centric, but we're not limited to it.
No. We are intelligent human beings who sit behind two microphones and tell you the things.
And, I've never hid my my affinity for the Grateful Dead, neither has Lydia. And we've never hid our affinity for democracy.
No.
So
huge fans of democracy.
So we're not going to do that either.
Yep.
So, Lydia, if you've just tuned in to episode 8 of season 6, it seems to beg the point that there's been 5 previous seasons and 7 previous episodes this season. Where can they find us?
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, Audible.
Love Audible.
YouTube, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Player FM. You will not see our faces on YouTube, but you can stream our lovely voices.
Yeah, you can also find, if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on X, Twitter at JackYDK.
Yep.
You can find Lydia
at RTL Pod.
You can find me at JMGGMPG.
And what a long, strange trip
it has, and
fairly well.
It's fairly well, and it's a new journey.
Yes.
On the new frontier for
Bobby.
Weir.
Bobby has just entered a different plane.
He's standing in a shaft of light somewhere, and hopefully Jerry and Phil and Big Pen and Donna and Keith, Brett Midland. I hope they're all there, and I hope there's a jam session going. Man, I wish I was there for it.
Yeah.
But, one day.
Well, the sun's out, so we'll take that as a sign.
That's Bobby smiling down.
There you go.
All right, we'll see you next time.